Great to have you with us, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jim Masters, and this is the Jim Masters Show live all around the world. I hope you're having a terrific day, and wherever you are watching from all around the world, it is a pleasure to have you here. This is the show, of course, as we say, and we've been saying for now 7 weeks. Very excited to tell you this is our 7th week of the Jim Masters Show live. Isn't that cool? We put this together 7 weeks ago with love and levity and light. That's what this show is all about. Light, levity, love every single day, whether we have guests or we have special segments or we take you on location. The Jim Masters Show Live really, truly is designed to bring positivity and inspiration and empowerment to the world as best as we can here live every night. We are here nightly, 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific worldwide. And we simulcast on YouTube at Jim Masters TV, as well as Facebook at Jim Masters TV as well. And thanks again for all of the outpouring of support. Again, many of you know I do this professionally as a television and radio host, an actor, journalist, voiceover artist, narrator, stage MC, writer, producer. Been doing that for years and years and years. And we decided to create this because so many of you, even colleagues, asked me to put something like a show together, like the Jim Masters Show Live. So a couple of weeks ago, 7 weeks ago to be exact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're celebrating 7 as of today. We did it. We built a set, we created everything, and it has been absolutely glorious and a true joy and blessing to do this because we've had an extraordinary bevy of incredible guests from movies and film, television, music, chefs. We've had inspirational people and empowering people, and we've had you. Plus fun segments on the weekend too, where we've taken you on location. We did a whole Mother's Day brunch show where we cooked all kinds of incredible things and ate them over in the dining room area. It was really, really cool. And we've been hearing from all around the world, and that's cool too. We've heard from all across the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, New Zealand, Australia. It's absolutely spectacular. So if you're joining us for the first time, I tip my hat. I welcome you to the Jim Masters Show Live. Share the links, tell your friends, have a host party and a watch party if you want, and just enjoy yourself because all the time we are here to celebrate you. And that's what the show is all about. It is here nightly to celebrate you, to celebrate all of us together collectively. Because again, we've been going through some really interesting times, and it's just been, extraordinary to have this opportunity to bring you so much entertainment and so much love and light. And we've got a very special guest who's joining us tonight, and I'm very excited to tell you, really exciting. Clara Francesca is joining me. You see her behind me there in our screenshot. And as you know, we always change the setting based on the guests and what the topic is. And we're going to welcome her to the show live in just a moment. We've been chatting for a while now, and she's so excited to be here on the show. And I'm very excited to welcome her to the Jim Masters Show as well. If you're new to the show or you're joining us for the first time, well, I guess you would be new to the show if you're joining us for the first time, wouldn't you? So if you're joining us for the first time and new to the show, or you're one of our loyal fans who've been with us all around the world, you know how it works then. We toast you and you and you and you and you and you and you. And it's nice to have you with us tonight from all around the world. As always, here on the show, again, it's light, levity, and love. Your good old friend, comedian George Burns is here to put a smile on your face with a cigar and his glasses. He is our sidekick here. Again, we did a nostalgic episode of the show, and we whipped out all our childhood toys and so much more. And we debuted the authentic George Burns doll. This came out during his 100th birthday, the comedian George Burns. And everybody voted to keep him on the show. So he's sort of my, co-host sidekick. So George says hello to all of you as well. And as always, again, it's all light and levity, and that's what it's all about, right? Jeannie is here. Hi, Jimmy Jeannie. She's in her bottle. She says hello. I don't know if you can see her in there with her beads and her couches, but she's in there as well. You doing all right? Yes, Master. So she's in there too. She's doing well. And of course, from that TV shoot I was on in Europe, from Switzerland, here's your friend. You want to see him all the time. You always ask to see Silver. So Silver is there to say hello. Again, to put some smiles on your faces. Again, we get into some deep topics sometimes here on the show, but we also like to have a lot of light and levity and love and fun. So there's the other one. That's the cast of characters here on the show. There is your friend Jimmy. I know you guys always ask about him. So he's there to put a smile on your face because we've been going through civil unrest, economic pandemics. So here's something to make you smile if you need a smile tonight or at any time. And as always, here on the Jim Masters Show Live, we go big time. We go Hollywood. So a little lights, camera, and action right now. Lights, camera, and action. We're about to begin the show. So how are you doing today, everybody? Hope you had a good day. It's starting off the week, and it's an absolutely picture-perfect, stunning day here. The temperatures in the low 80s in the northeastern section of the United States. We were out walking along the coast, and we also played some tennis today. I had another radio show to host in my professional work this afternoon, so we took care of that. And then we played some tennis. It was terrific. It was absolutely beautiful. So whatever you did today, whether you're back at work or maybe you were outside gardening or maybe you were writing the book you've always wanted to write, it's always a pleasure to have you here. And again, I personally thank you so much for sharing the links, having watch parties, telling friends. I've been getting all kinds of emails, all kinds of Facebook messages from just about everybody you can think of who has been watching the show, and they've been just telling me that they're so inspired and empowered by the show. And they like the light and the levity, the guests and everything that we're doing. So that's cool to know, because we're going to keep doing this for as long as you want us to here at the Jim Masters Show. Tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like as well. And of course, let's start off by welcoming our friends from around the world. Willie in Holland, the Netherlands. I walked a lot today, very tired, but I took a little nap and I am there. We're glad you're here watching on YouTube at Jim Masters TV on the YouTube channel, Willie. We always like to celebrate Willie. She just joined us for the first time this past week as a new viewer because it's about 1 a.m. in Holland. And she generally has been taking a nap in the day just so she can join us at 1 a.m. in the Netherlands on the Jim Masters Show. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. Now, I think, Willie, if you told us yesterday on the Sunday Fun Day edition of the broadcast that you were going on vacation and you were visiting other relatives in another part of, and friends in another part of Holland. So hopefully you made it there safe and sound, and you're watching us with your relatives and family and loved ones there in Holland. And hopefully you'll get some good sleep today. And Joy is here. Hello from New York City. It's great to have you with us as well. And hopefully your grandson Connor is watching and you remembered today. Yep, we mentioned Connor for you. And Willie, lots of clapping there in Holland. Boy, we got a lot of comments coming in. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday from Iowa, USA. Christine Fairwood, who's in Connecticut, says hello to everybody as well. It's good to see you. And of course, you are in New York, as we mentioned. June Rachelson Aspa, dear friend and lyricist and arranger, composer in New York City, says hello to everybody as well. And guess what? Eileen Barker, our guest, is originally from Australia. And you are in Australia. You mentioned to us last night, and you've been following me on Facebook for a long time and Instagram and everywhere else. And then when we launched the show, you hopped right on, Eileen. You're watching on YouTube. That's terrific. And you mentioned last night that you live, I think it's east of Perth in Western Australia. and you invited me to come one day, and I hope to make it there as well. And I'd like to go to Melbourne and Brisbane and check it out. And Australia is on my bucket list. Haven't been to Australia yet. Greece, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Mexico, Bermuda, and all, but not Australia yet. But hi, Jim. All your friends are here. 7 weeks Ripper. And you're going to be entering winter soon too, right? So I'm sure you're going to be pulling out. We're putting our sweaters away and you're pulling your sweaters out there in Australia. Christine says hello to everybody. Ernestine Webb says you are tuned in from North Carolina, USA. That is terrific. And everybody's coming in here. And Christopher says hello to Clara. And Christopher is in Ohio. And Eileen's giving everybody a big toast. And Karen, who is a wonderful life coach, and interviewed her on the radio about a month or so ago. And she lives up in New Hampshire. She says hello to everybody. Renee says it was a beautiful day where you are. That's terrific. And Christine says 70s, no humidity, perfect weather. And Ernestine says it has rained all day in Pine Tops, North Carolina. Hopefully you'll get some sun tomorrow, Ernestine. Hi, Jim from Ohio, and hi, Willie as well. Kayanne, good to see you as well. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. And my pleasure to remember Connor, your grandson. Absolutely. And Christopher says, how could anyone miss Jim Masters live? Appreciate that. Yes, it's a beautiful town with old buildings. You're happy there in Holland. We're happy to hear that. Christopher says, hello from Sylvania, Ohio. Pamela Perkle says, hello, Jim. We appreciate that. Pamela. Alice Gibson, hello from California. Good to see you. Our friends on the West Coast. Really nice to see you as well. Christine says Jim remembers everything. I think I do. You know what it is? I'm a good listener. Maybe that's why I like to have great conversations, and maybe I'm a good host because I really deeply listen. A lot of times people do lots of talking, but they never listen. And what kind of a conversation could you have if you're the only one doing all the talking and there's no listening? The best conversations are when it's a little of each. And like I mentioned, I'm a Libra, so it's all balance and harmony. So we're always trying to, strive for that as well. And Bart Shadow, hi Clara, hi Jim, here in New Jersey. It's great to see you, Bart, as well. And everybody's saying hello to everybody. More coming in here. Yes, that's right. You are in Midland near Perth, and winter here. Jumpers have been on for a few weeks now and have had heaps of rain there in Midland near Perth in Australia. Well, hopefully you'll get some sun. Hello, Jimmy Coco Popbeds. Martha Oliver Swartz there in Michigan. So let me tell you about our very special guest. She is a delight to have here on the show. We were just having a wonderful conversation before we went on live, and she's really amazing, and she's a very spirited individual, and she's very talented, and she's really a cool person to know, and I'm so excited to have her here on the show. We've been teasing and promoting the fact that she was going to be here this Monday night for you. Clara Francesca, the brilliant actress and singer and producer, is joining us here on the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Clara. She is absolutely amazing. Before I do that, I just want to tell you that as we have this special episode of the Jim Masters Show Live, we do take a moment to honor the native land on which we gather, particularly paying our respects to the Lenape and Minnesota people, whilst also acknowledging all lands historically colonized around the globe that you, the audience, might be watching from around the world. We pay our respects to the indigenous peoples past, present, and future in the spaces that we call home. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. That's a very beautiful and special way that we wanted to introduce this particular episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Now, our very special guest is Clara Francesca. Don't you just love that name, Clara Francesca? It has a very old school yet modern, regal essence to it. It's a beautiful name. New York City award-winning actress, part of Equity, graduate of Anne Bogart's inaugural City Company Conservatory, Phoenix Theater resident artist. Highlights include Macbeth's Lady Macbeth, Hamlet, Ophelia, Three Sisters, Irena, Uncle Vanya's Yelena, Ostrovsky's La Pochka, and in A Family Affair. In her solo show, Manifesting Mrs. Marks, lead role in the Cannes market featuring film Johnny Ghost, appearances in TV shows We Are NYC, and Pokemon audible narrator Loose Ends by Kristen Ashley. Rakana in PlayStation 4, Pillars of Eternity, Clara's 2020 pandemic paused projects, which I have seen, and they are terrific, include our dear friend June Rachelson Aspa's Hide and Seek, New York City, and Hyun Suk Cha's Black and White Tea Room, South Korea, and Audrey Opensky with Patrice Miller, the Signature Studio Theater. Her work is breathtaking, and she's also going to tell us about, she came to the United States in 2013 to work and train and perform with Anne Bogart's City Company, and she was absolutely thrilled to be a part of the inaugural conservatory in New York City, which she hadn't visited before. And after the City Conservatory performances, she received job offers to stay and perform in what she calls this incredible country, which is the United States, and it certainly is. And she was offered jobs in theater and film, and soon more avant-garde work as well, soon followed by voiceovers for notable studios and brands. And she's continued to train in classic and contemporary stage and screen, and so much more. And also what's really interesting is she also was doing all of this as an actor in Australia originally, while obtaining a bachelor's degree in laws and biomedical sciences from Monash University. She spent time working in medical negligence and a variety of empowering programs for civil liberties organizations. And as she continued to perform, the law degree provided extremely beneficial to her understanding of artists' rights. And the biomedical degree allowed her to train in a wide range of neuroscience-based modalities, something she's especially cherished as an actor. So she's been able to brilliantly fuse her acting with her legal and biomedical training, which enables her to enrich her performance work while supporting others by providing comprehensive speech coaching to those leveling up their communication prowess. We are so honored and blessed to have her here on the show, and it's my pleasure to welcome her. And thanks to everybody who's watching literally from all around the world, waiting in our beautifully appointed green room with wine and cheese and crackers. Maybe not. In her own green room, we have the lovely and talented Clara Francesca. Clara, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and the wine and cheese has been excellent. I finished it off, and I'm now sponsoring a Jim Masters delightful cool soda beverage with wine. So.
Fantastic. I have a raspberry ginger ale. So let's toast. We always like to toast on this show.
Yes,
we'll do
please.
a toast. Clang. Fantastic. Very, very nice. So how's your day going? How are things going for you through everything that we've been dealing with has impacted people on so many different levels, regardless of where they live, regardless of what they do for a living, or even if they're retired. Tell us about some of the things that you've been doing to pivot through all of this, Clara.
Yeah, so I think it's almost in two stages. When the pandemic hit, I did have some of those wonderful productions you read out. Some of the pandemic plays just got canceled, which was really sad for many, 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 many reasons. And as a result, the sort of first stage of dealing with this, I guess, I started making a lot of individual pandemic play theater projects. So small productions we put up on Instagram, small productions we would do in virtual mediums. Yesterday, though, we did a full staged virtual theater piece of a new play, which was really quite a lot of fun. It was very moving, which was really fantastic to get your teeth back into that. I think as theater actors, we miss that a lot because it's a very different medium doing everything virtually. So that was phase one. Phase two, when the civil liberties movement sort of came back to really deal with how we can be better people to each other in the movement to be anti-racist. I've been doing a lot of activism, a lot of calling. The legal stuff has really come back into my brain. I did a lot of training in Australia with a lot of the work, as you mentioned earlier. So some of that stuff has almost come back to me like riding a bike in terms of how to mediate, how to have conversations with people who might not want to have those conversations. groups like Surge showing up for racial justice. So a whole myriad of stuff. But that's sort of a snapshot of those two, I guess, phases. And we'll see where phase 3 takes us. If we can come out of this not anxious, calm, better people, more
right.
lovable. I love your methodology of light and love. I think that's fantastic. And then how do we have, courageous conversations that might be uncomfortable, whilst also understanding that we really are surrounded by love to do that. That it's, the aim is that we can get to a place where it's all supporting one another.
That's exactly right. Beautifully stated and beautifully said. And I also, as we began the show, I wanted to introduce the show with that very special and beautiful and touching statement and celebration of the native land and indigenous people and all. Tell us a little bit more about that and why that's so near and dear to your heart and important to you, Clara.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jim. And thank you for doing that. I really, really very much appreciated that. It's near and dear for me because as a theatre artist in Australia, it kind of became very common practice when I was a novice starting out in the theater industry. And now I understand that people are doing it in courtrooms, they're doing it before financial big sort of meetings that are public. And that's, I think, really important because it asks us to challenge where have we benefited as people who have, different pigmentation from the capitalist movements, from the colonialist mindset that kind of came into some of these countries, and can we acknowledge that relationship that we have to sort of be more empathetic and more active in opening up spaces that are more compassionate for our colleagues who maybe have been oppressed or discriminated or ostracized against for something that they can't control. And so, hey, Alice, oh, cool. So that's where that comes from, that it was something that became very common in Australia. And when I moved to America, I was surprised to find, hey, Eileen, that it wasn't that common practice. And so I kind of want that to become more powerful. And I think it is now, which is exciting, but that's why it's a special thing for me. Oh, yay. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't warm up properly. I feel bad. And then copyright issues. Jim, what are we going to do?
I was going to say, right? I tell you. So you're getting hello. We're getting hellos from all around the world. That is Willie in Holland. And she's with us as well. So you came over around 2013 and from Australia. And what was that like for you when you first decided to make that big move? Were you nervous? Were you concerned? Or were you just wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and said, I'm going for it?
A fusion of Naomi Watts from Mulholland Drive when she arrives in LA for that first scene was like, woohoo, we're here. And also like, where have I shown up? I don't know anyone really actively. And I was doing very intense training with physical theater with Anne Bogart, which is wonderful, but it was intense. We were working very, very, very early hours into very, very late in the evening. We had to produce mini pieces of theater once a week, if not every 2 weeks. So how was I feeling? Excitedly nervous, very green. Hello, Martha. Also, hello to June and Bart, my dear friends that have called in. It was really great to see you both call in before.
Welcome aboard the Jim Masters train. I love that.
Love that.
Like the name Clara. Is that a cat named Clara? Christine.
I'm sure a very lovely Aquarian cat. Very, 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 very pioneering and happy.
Absolutely. So you were saying that you came over and it was really very fascinating and interesting for you, and you were very excited, and you went to work. I mean, you got in there right away, going to school and getting the training, right?
Yes, I can't remember the statistics exactly, but I think I decided to fly into New York City. I'd never been to America in my life. 5 days before we were going to start physical theater training, which was pretty intense.
Wow.
It was an intelligent thing to do, but I did it.
So what did the family say? Were they like, oh, wait. Were they excited or were they nervous or?
Yeah, they weren't happy. They weren't happy because I was going to a land that for them, everything actually we're dealing with the movement, they were concerned about these issues in a quite very real way. I have to thank my father and my mother. They're very active sort of civil rights movement people and empaths. And they were concerned that I was going to a world where had that, the core, also in Australia, gun laws are quite different. So there's sort of different mindsets around that too. And also, I guess they couldn't protect their baby girl. Also, I was going to an industry that they knew nothing about. So, I mean, I've been doing it in Australia professionally, but there was, that cocoon sort of safety around a lot of that. So
it was really more, they were just concerned that their daughter was going to be safe and everything was going to be, that should be okay.
Yeah.
Loving parents, right? Do you come from Anybody else in the family that has like the entertainment bug or performance at all?
We all have it in a real way. So part of me is like, I don't know why we don't like, why, I mean, I should have been sent off with a bouquet of like love and affection of like, yes, go do the acting. My amazing aunt is a fashion designer and dressmaker. A cousin of mine is an amazing jeweler, like does amazing things with metals and gold. She's incredible. A lot of painters in the family. My dad has an amazing singing voice. My mom helped me make design dresses, and I did what in America would be called a prom dress. I did all my prom dresses myself. I designed them and stitched them with my help from my aunt and my mom. So there are a lot of people, and my mom's mother is a piano teacher. So there is a lot of art in that side of the family. Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. You weave in and out of the Australian dialect. Sometimes you hear it. Sometimes it sounds like you're from the United States. And then sometimes it sort of weaves in. It's really cool how it sort of comes in and out.
For Eileen, I'll do my full-on Australian accent. This is me if I'm with my friends in the middle of Melbourne. And by the way, Jim, when you come to do your world tour of Australia with Eileen in WA, you're very welcome to Melbourne City. I'm sure we'd welcome you with open arms. We have excellent coffee. Excellent.
Oh, that sounds good. And you said Melbourne, not Melbourne, right?
No,
like Melbourne. And Brisbane, not Brisbane.
Yes, I don't hear Brisbane quite as much, to be honest, but yeah.
That's cool how you do that. And Eileen, I'm sure, is really happy too. So you were talking about the fact that you had all of this schooling. Did you know early on that this is what you wanted to do? Were you, a youth in school, always performing, always like entertaining, and you had it in your heart that you were destined to take this path of performance and art and creativity?
Very much. And I think from the art perspective as a child, for me, even now as an adult, art was always connected to responsibility of communal cultural discussion and philosophical debate. So I think it's a little naive as artists to think that we're not political. I don't think we have to actively be doing a political angry show, but we're not really apolitical. I mean, if we just look at the statistics recently for Gone with the Wind, sales have increased as a result of the movement. That tells us something. That tells us that people go to, better or worse, whether it's right or wrong, they go to kind of entertainment to get basic education on ethics around stuff. And so as a result, I think as artists, we need to be aware of what we're putting out there and that it will be seen by people. So as a youngster, I was very aware of that. I guess my favorite story is when I was 5, just before my nonna passed away, she and I were playing in her room and she had all these cotton balls of different colors. And my parents must have been out somewhere. I don't know where they went. I don't know, an event or something. And she was babysitting me and I got all these cotton balls and I tied them up at waist level height for the adults all around the room and created this giant multicolored spider web. And it was a performance art piece where I wanted the adults to come into the room, go under, and then pop up through the spider web and see sort of different perspective views. And so my nonna thought it was fantastic. I think my parents had other thoughts about it when they showed up at home and I destroyed their house. But so yes, I feel like that was a calling. That I've always been making avant-garde theater. I've always been classically trained, and it's always been a mission of mine to go, well, how can we get people to see a different perspective and have that compassion and empathy and navigate it from a place that is fun, that is joyful, even though it might be serious as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about some of the very first projects and productions that you had an opportunity to participate in that still remain near and dear to your heart, Clara.
Yeah, I guess there are 2. The first one is Macbeth, Lady Macbeth. I got to play her when I was 17. It was the best experience of my life.
It's unbelievable.
Strangers give me flowers and see the show multiple times, which was just incredible. So that was great. I really felt an affinity to her and navigating the delicate nuance between motivation and feeling, and what drives her to do certain stuff. I played her like a 17-year-old. I wasn't trying to play her like the age she would have been. So there was a bit more sort of sensuality between Macas and Lady M, which was fun. And then the second production was a piece I wrote, right? So that's my classical side. And then the avant-garde side of me, I wrote a solo theater play called Susan Who. And it was about the working women in the district of St. Kilda, Melbourne, where I'm from. That's where my parents raised me. And, up until recently, it was really quite a wonderful, diverse space of sort of acceptance of all and a complicated challenge as well. But I wrote this piece because I was 15 when I wrote it. And I was doing research about the fact that a lot of working women were not getting support from the government, and the system of how women get into this vocation was really challenging. A lot of drug dependency, a lot of misogyny, a lot of brainwashing, a lot of coercion, a lot of underage stuff too. And there were women that were my age. And so, apart from the fact that I have a massive research brain, I think evident by my legal background and the medical stuff, I did a lot of research, and I did a solo theater piece that ended up winning a Best Actress award at the Melbourne Arts Centre at the Fairfax Stage, which was really exciting for me as an artist and as a performance artist, and as sort of more avant-garde work too. It was sort of a monologue of the moment before she realizes she's been trapped by the system and she can't get out unless someone were, until the government and industry start to make changes of their awareness and how they impact the system. So that was a piece that really, for me, was important to do, and has since been, the Mrs. Mark show that I did is a very different subject matter, but that got to tour Edinburgh. I met my dream director, Guy Masterson, for solo theater and work stuff. He's in London right now, and we took it to Tuscany and we took it to Kansas City, and so those two pieces, I think, for me were pretty important.
I love that. From Guy Masterson to Jim Masters.
Yes.
How ironic.
Masters. And he's a Leo.
He's a Leo. Yeah, that's it. And the Masters goes back to my father's side. I was mentioning it the other night. The Masters they go back to Yorkshire. So they're from the Yorkshire area in England, that name. A lot of people think, I don't know about you, if people think you made your name up, Clara Francesca, but people always ask me if I made up Jim Masters. They're like, it's too smooth. It's too easy. You made that up for TV. Your name is probably really Harvey Lupowitz or something. It's like, no, I'm the fifth James. It goes back to Europe. It's the real deal.
Yeah, names are funny, aren't they? I mean, for me, I have this philosophy that like labeling is good as long as it's a quick hand of like just referencing something quickly to respect. But when we start to ostracize them, it gets really weird, which I think is why we're in this predicament we're in now, which is not new, obviously, but talking about the civil Black Lives Matter movement. But in terms of, Jim Masters is a great name. Why can't that be your name and let that be that? But
why
but
change it?
Has a little bit of a story to it. If you have time, can I share?
Yeah.
Okay. So my dad was studying under a psychoanalyst who was Anna Freud's best friend, and her name was Clara, and he really liked it. Then in 1980, she passed away. She was an Austrian descendant who had immigrated to Melbourne, and I was born, and my parents decided that they would name me Clara Freaky, not realizing that it was 9 years to the day that she died. She died on the day of my birth 9 years prior. Isn't that amazing? I just think that's amazing.
That's amazing. It's right.
And then my parents didn't realize that when this happened. And then my mother decided Francesca because it means freedom. So Clara in Latin, Clara clarus clarum, means free and famous and opinionated, sort of mind of spirit, which, as you said before, I'm a spirited woman. So I think that fits pretty well. Francesca means free. And my legal last name, Pagoni, which is on a few documents here and there, but I tend not to use it. It means peacock. So famous, free peacock.
Wow, there you go. It's perfect. You should be on NBC.
I'll call them right away. We'll figure that out.
That's right. Proud as a peacock. That's one of their slogans.
All right, great. Excellent sponsorship. I like this idea, Jim. Excellent.
That's it. Make those calls. How do you describe your style of acting? I mean, there's so many different styles in terms of, a couple of actors I've been chatting with, and I have a lot of friends that are actors, and I've done some acting as well. Everybody has their style, but everybody also brings to the table so many different nuances and essence of their own DNA, of their the things that they've experienced in life, their childhood, the people they've met, the losses, the triumphs, the tragedies, all of it. How much of yourself is wrapped up in the essence of the characters that you play when you're able to do that?
That's an incredibly profound question, Jim, and I don't know if I can answer it in the time we have today, to be honest. I think you're right. We do bring ourselves to the work. I think it's ridiculous to pretend that we don't. Like, clearly we do, because we're the material. We are the instrument. That said, I have method training. I have commedia dell'arte training. I have more sort of modern theater training with City Company and companies like that. And I sort of fuse all of it. It's a toolkit for me. It depends on the production. It depends on what the director wants. It depends on the narrative. It depends, and going back to sort of civil movements in terms of what we're doing and what's the framework of what we're trying to do in that. So that kind of is that element of it. In terms of my heritage and what I bring to it, I'm Sicilian Australian. And I think the thing that sometimes gets forgotten about Sicilians is the sort of fluidity and freedom that was sort of part of the culture. You know, this very high art decadent marzipan. My dad's father was a master at making marzipan fruits and styles. It's really to very high end art. They have diplomas of stuff they've won. And that spirit is about sort of not perfection so much as authenticity and specificity, which is a good thing as an actor to have as the core.
Right.
But also communication. My parents are both humanitarians, and they're both really, I mean, this is something that I jokingly say, but I think was a great thing. When my brother and I were younger, oh, Bart, I haven't
he's putting you on the spot.
Bart and I have a song that we're going to do. I have copyright issues. Oh.
I guess we can say, if somebody's having a birthday, we'll just sing "Happy Birthday" to you. And I guess we have to do it twice for 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
As we're doing our hands.
Yeah, I don't know. Energetic and busy lady. I am busy. I am. Yeah. But the way my parents would punish us was we would be sent to our room, and we'd have to think about what we'd done wrong, why we had done it wrong, and what we're going to do to never do it again. And I think that's what I bring to my work, sort of obsessive compassion, obsessive communication. But I can also play quiet characters.
Your Australian friend Eileen, and my Australian friend Eileen is asking the same thing. Isn't that funny?
What did she say? Oh, to hear you sing.
Oh, boy.
I stand as a ripper.
You're Australian. Thank you. Yes, Ripper?
Yeah, you little ripper.
Oh, is that what that means?
You little ripper. You're great, Jim. You little ripper.
I like that. I like that. Hello from California. And Jim, another guest whose story is relatable due to her down-to-earth style. Clara, love your incorporation of your many talents. And Marianne Kelly, I interviewed her multiple times on the radio. We did a television interview together. She's an extraordinary individual, a medium. She's also a coach and so much more. Jory says, beautiful and very interesting. And love from your newest fan, Mark. You're awesome in my play. Great to have you with us on the Jim Masters Show, Mark. That is fantastic. We love it. So you're mentioning, how you are able to sprinkle little nuances of who you are into some of the characters when it's appropriate to do that.
Yeah, I think that sort of stays with me as an ethic thing in my mind as an actor. But I do think as an actor, you have a responsibility to really meet the piece where the piece needs to be met. And that might mean you don't bring in that side of you all the time. Like, I don't think, this is a big topic of conversation, Jim. This is not something
we got to start a pot of coffee, right?
Right. I feel my colleagues sharpening their knives of like, but what about this? And what about this?
It's one of those late night conversations that goes on till the morning time, right?
Yeah.
But I want to show some photos too as we're chatting, and maybe you can take us through this little timeline we have of some really cool shots that we have here. Let's start with that one.
Oh, yes. That's a play that I did for the pandemic about being lonely and single and alone in the pandemic and not knowing how to wear your clothes anymore because you haven't dated in so long.
Absolutely. Then we have this one.
That's me backstage yesterday for Mark's play. Friends, this is what theater looks like in a pandemic. This is the stage, the set, the costume, the stage manager. That you thought a stage was a stage? That's not a stage. It's
absolutely that. Right. It's what television shows look like and everything else. I mean, usually I'm in the studios, or I'm on stage or I'm flying in the air on location. And here we are. We're doing this show from the home studio. Here's another cool shot.
That's me as Peter Rabbit for another pandemic play, which I was really very proud to be part of. It was a really great production.
How about this one here?
That is a play that my friend Amelia Fowler and I wrote together with Jason Hewitt about a mom's going to do what a mom's going to do. And it's about two mothers, one in America and one in Australia. And we're like talking about like full on stereotypes. We made it nice and super ugly and like grim. And the American woman's like, oh, you poor Australians, you don't understand anything. And you're all in denial about racism. And the Australian woman's like, oh, you Americans are all like under like, like you don't know how to look after yourselves. And it's all a bit nuts. And so they end up deciding what they should do next. I recommend everyone checking out. It's got a nice little twist at the end of what these two moms have to do in the middle of a pandemic when they're panicking.
Here's another one to show everybody.
That's my grandparents.
What are their names?
Barbara Mioni and Leo Mioni.
Ah, Barbara and Leo. Beautiful shot. They look so happy. How many years together?
Oh, wow. Oh, Jim, now I'm on the spot. A long time?
A long time.
Long time.
That's a good answer. Decades. Decades of love and wedded bliss.
Yeah.
Well, we send them all the best of good health and blessings and continued wedded bliss and joy, and beautiful, beautiful couple. And how about this one, Clara? It's a cool shot.
Oh, yes. That's me performing avant-garde theater art online. So I do a lot of physical theater, and obviously you can't do that when you're in the middle of a pandemic. So my colleague Philip Baldwin and I at Stony Brook tried to create virtual theater together and see what we could do with physical theater. So that is using a Google Experiments program by Bill T. Jones's experiment programs. And thanks, Bart. I can be more serious too, friends. I can be less enthusiastic.
Right. We could make this a very deep and serious.
We could.
Good evening. I'm Jim Masters with Clara Francesca. Let's get to the bottom line. What the heck is life all about?
I love it.
That's it. So that's a cool shot. And here's another one too.
Yes, that is me doing a feature film with my friends at Incorporate Nexus Production Group with Ivan Malkin and Sarah Malkin. They got married, which was really exciting for all of us. And that is a production we did, 3 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I can't quite remember. But that is the graffiti famous art of the streets of Melbourne.
Really, really nice. And you are taking a bite out of life?
Yeah, I must have been. I think that's a still when I was mucking around. So I do very serious theater roles, and then I just go on set.
Absolutely, I do the same thing. You've got to do that. You got to, you got to keep people guessing, right? They can't box you in and say Clara is just this, this, and this, right? Absolutely not. We go from that to.
That. Oh, yeah, that's my leg. That's my left leg. For production, I did when I was
I was looking at the phone.
Yeah, the phone is good too. The phone is good too. It was a show called, what was it called? Who is Lindsay Bogue? And it was a farce between three friends stuck in an apartment. We did it in 2000, and I want to say 14, 13. But dealing with what it means to be stuck in an apartment with people you don't want to be stuck with. So
right, that's a cool shot. How long did you have to have that leg in that position to have them get that perfect shot?
Yeah, so my very, very close friend, Zoe Toomey Bucks, a photographer in Melbourne, took it for me. And I think it was her idea to use my leg, and I trust her. So I think I'm leaning. I think what you're seeing, I would have been in the background leaning on the shoulder of my friend Nick to the right of that image.
Right.
Probably not long, but it was a very intimate shot between the three of us trying to.
Sure. Amongst friends. That's right.
Friends.
Here's another cool shot, Clara. How about this one?
Yes, that is me at Edinburgh Fringe Festival last year, where I was meant to be this year, but obviously everything's been shut down for the pandemic. But that's star reviews for my solo theater piece, Manifesting Mrs. Marks, which is where I met your wonderful friend June, actually, originally.
That's right. She's cool, isn't she?
Wonderful.
A real spirited person as well. And another cool shot there.
With Lance Hendrickson on set of January of last year for a film that should be coming out soon called Reclaw. And that was really wonderful to work with him. Here's a man who's done Terminator movies, done stuff with Arnold Schwarzenegger, like a lot of action stuff. And this was a very sort of Wes Anderson kind of meets Pulp Fiction vibe. And he plays my dad. So that is a scene with dad and daughter as a still in a van where we're about to help people who have done horrific crimes against humanity, reform them and help them do good for humanity was the core of the movie. So
that's terrific. That's beautiful.
And I didn't even write it, and it has a political edge. So
it's all bases are covered. You've got it all covered, full circle, 360. How about this one here? That's a great shot.
Yeah, that's Jenny Marks. So that is me playing in Manifesting Mrs. Marks as the wife of Karl Marx, philosopher. I'm looking at her as a case study and sort of an analysis of psychosis and what happens when we ostracize people and why people break down. There's a lot of information out there that suggests both her and Karl were suffering from depression. Obviously, it wouldn't have been called that, and it would have had maybe other manifestations of it too. But the question, the showing that I'm asking, Manifesting Mrs. Marx, is asking, Why do we judge people?
Right.
What is that impetus to do that? And then what is the effect when we strip someone apart, which is why she's got this weird makeup on. So it's like half the face is normal, and then the other half is kind of distorted and confused and sort of figuring it out.
Cool stuff. There's another beautiful shot too.
Yes, that's her again. She's hopeful. If we communicate better and we send more love and we talk about the difficult things maybe can work.
You know, it's funny, very funny and perfect and apropos that you say that and that you were in that role, because it's so much needed for the times we're in right now. Material like that and productions like that, and you really, it's really something that tugs at your heart when you have an opportunity to take on roles that aren't just entertaining and leave people feeling fulfilled in certain ways, but you want them to think, you want them to act, you want them to react, you want them to be left after the performance is done collectively with the cast, to go about their day thinking about things a little differently to help really make the world a better place, right?
Yeah. If we can pause just on that for a moment, because I think it applies to, I do a lot of work in the corporate field too. I have this company called Speakeasy with Clara, and it's essentially speech coaching, public speaking. I'll talk in my accent that I use when I work with my clients because it's easier, I think, for they hear them, the sound of the voice. And often what will happen is that these people come to me, they're CEOs, they're presidents, they're therapists, they're lawyers, they're very high-end professionals, experts in their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so much fear, so much hesitation with themselves that they end up mumbling, or I'm doing a lot of ums as they kind of talk, or doing this kind of thing, or this kind of thing, or whatever it might be. And it affects their speech, because speech is a way to communicate. I keep saying to clients, if you're not going to use your voice effectively, why don't you just type it up and give it as a memo?
Right.
People can read it. They don't need your intonation and nuance and all of that. And it is a very effective medium. And it can be, I joke with clients, it can be used for the Force like the Jedi Knights, or it can be used like Darth Vader. And I'm hoping you're all Jedi Knights and you do whatever you want to do with it. But exactly as you summarize my artwork, it really goes into my client work too, in terms of being able to say to people, you need to, like Brene Brown kind of says, you need to be strong in your vulnerability. The vulnerability isn't what's going to hurt you. People can be mean,
Sure,
but being able to be present in what you really believe in and then explain it. That doesn't mean you always have to show your cards. Doesn't mean you always have to be hugging and crying or smiling. You can be very grounded and let that side of the information come out. But if we're afraid of ourselves, it creates wackadoodle distortion, and it'll have a detrimental effect on extremes of the narcissist or the self-sabotaging. But it will have a detrimental effect. And so I think, as you summarized it was beautifully. I'm going to go back and watch the video and type down what you said, because I thought it was wonderfully said.
Well, thank you. Bumper stickers everywhere, right? Billboards on the highway, as Jim Masters said. That's it. More wonderful shots there. I love these shots. And then we have some video to show too, a reel of some of your fabulous work that I wanted to make sure we did show on the show. This also, these shots, what I'm seeing in these shots, and when I was reviewing them before we got them set when we were preparing the show, there's so much depth as well as joy expressed in your expressions. You could see in the depth of your expressions, at least I can see it, maybe being a fellow creative as well, I have an eye, but I think general audiences can notice it too, that when you are performing all of these roles and probably everything that you do, you are all in.
Yeah.
And you could see that in these photos.
Yeah.
You're all in 100%, and you really take on the character, and you have such joy from head to toe as you're performing, don't you?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to always be making that the mission when in the character.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you think about lunch.
Right.
I'm kidding. I'm making a joke.
That's it. Joke. Bring on craft services. All we got is corned beef and sauerkraut on rye. That's all we have today, right?
No wine.
And some potato salad from last week. No. Craft services. All right. Oh, that's a cool shot. Tell us about this one.
So again, manifesting Mrs. Marks, where she's talking about being silenced by her oppressors and her husband and the people in the men in her life that she loves.
I like that you know that when the picture's in the middle to come over to the side. That is perfect. Yes, that's that acting training. You're putting it to work, right? I got the TV training, you got the acting training. Move over. Never get out of the shot. Never get out of the light. There we go.
I love this shot. I love this shot so much. Am I allowed to love my own shots?
Yes, of course. You're my guest. We're celebrating you on my show. Go ahead. Absolutely.
So I was talking back in my Australian. So this is a show that I did with a guy called Robert Reed with Monash Student Theatre Alumni Program. And it was a play that we did at La Mama. There's a La Mama in Australia, everyone, and it's a phenomenal theatre. Some great actors have come out of it. And we did this show, and then I did another show the month after. They were back to back. They were selling out. It felt like the prime of my career. And then I got invited by Anne Bogart to come to City Company for the conservatory. So I was like, bang, 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 bang. But this is a moment. The play was called The Well, and it was looking at sort of environmental problems and climate change. But there's this moment at the end of the play where this, I think, 11-year-old, me, this character, is wrapped up in the joy of life and like, let's all connect and do this together and then it will be better. And she's just so exuberant and happy about life and humanity, making choices to I guess what we're talking about right now in the movement, sort of reflect in and then reflect that out. The funny thing with this shot, though, is as happy as I look, those horrible pieces of glitter, which we now know are problematic for climate change. So, in hindsight, we wouldn't have put them in. But this is a long time ago. Got stuck in my eyeball, in my left eye socket at the end of the play. And being the actor that I am, I pushed through and we did.
Of course.
But then I came off stage and it was poking up in my eyeball and we couldn't pull it out. So my friend at the time and the cast rushed me to the hospital. The hospital nurse was not very nice to me. She very much discriminated. She thought I was, again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but thought I was a working woman, or like a cabaret woman. And just, there was so much stigma. She refused to look at my eye. I went back to set the next day, hoping I would just cry it out eventually. Not set, back to stage the next day, hoping I cried out. And it was still there at the end of the second night production.
Were you in physical pain?
Well, not the eye. No, I couldn't feel it. It's just people could see it, and I was panicking. Yeah. That is stuff that could make you go blind. Yeah. So the second night, I performed with it sticking out, but couldn't get to it to pull it out. And then it sort of went underneath, so it hid for a couple of hours. And the second night, though, the glitter went into my neck, and I choked on it. Oh my gosh, but the audience couldn't tell. And so then we went back to the hospital and there was another doctor with nurses and they were fantastic. And they sat me down, they put antiseptic in my eye, pulled it out. And the nurse and the doctor both said if I hadn't done it that night, I would have been partially blind. So I'm glad we took it seriously the second time. Then my director and I decided that this character would wear goggles as she threw out glitter.
So the moral of this story, folks, is the next time you go to see a production that Clara Francesca is in and you buy a ticket, know that you are going to get way more than the price of that ticket in terms of what she's had to go through to do that performance just for you. Blood, sweat, and tears, literally just for you, right?
I hope as a senior, mature actress now, I've learned my lesson. Wear goggles when working with glitter.
That's it. Power through. Exactly. Here's another cool shot.
Yeah, that's the poster of the show. I love that. My friend Jane took that photo for me, Jane Stein. It was magical shoot day.
Really nice. And I have a couple more here to share with our audience. I love this one. This one is very cool, Clara.
Oh, yes. My friend Alexa.
Wow.
That together. Again, that was for Manifesting Mark for Edinburgh when we took it to the Edinburgh Fringe. And again, it's like stratifying the human connection, right? And the psychosis of like these bits of human body parts make us up. And if we strip it apart, it's okay. But bear in mind that you're stripping it apart and you might break something.
That is absolutely incredible. That's a really, really cool shot. And we also, in addition, I want to show a couple of things here. We have the locked down video. Tell us a little bit about the lockdown video that you did. I was watching it. I thought it was terrific. It was so spot on.
Yeah, I actually really like it. I mean, it's a bit sad, but I really like it because a lot of my friends, a lot of my age group, obviously, we're missing each other's affection, hugs, intimacy, dating, etc. That's for a lot of people, but especially my friends my age. I was really listening to them, and so I made this piece inspired by that and inspired by love and how can we transcend love through a very weird virtual reality, and how can we stay in love with self?
Absolutely. Fantastic comments coming in here. Yeah. They're rooting for your eye. They're glad your eye is okay. That's dedication. What a story. The eye. So you're going to write a script about that, aren't you? The eye. That eye.
On it. Yes, Captain.
Instead of Marlo Thomas and that girl, we have Clara Francesca and that eye. And more coming in here. Let's see. Home and Reality Magazine. Clara is a pro. I love her spirit. Home and Reality is they're dear friends of mine. They're watching on YouTube. They are out of California. The Many Faces of Clara. And let's see, we've got some more in here. Oh my God, she's brilliant. Who is this woman?
Albert Aid, one of my dear, dear, dear friends, amazing producer, amazing actor, very, very funny comedian friends.
We've got to get him on the show too for some laughs. Come on the show, Albert. We'd like to have you as a guest. Welcome to the show. Austin Field says, love that energy that Clara brings and great pictures of your career. Always great to follow Jim Masters and his amazing celebrity guests. Kayanne was also like me looking at the telephone in the leg shot. And Martha says she likes the leg and phone photo. Great picture as well. Never be predictable. That's right. You go, Clara.
Thank you, Mary.
Keith, same thing. Go, Clara, go.
Composer, dear friend of mine. We're making a musical right now.
Eileen in the Midlands around Perth says, very passionate, beautiful Clara, a star you are. Love the photos. She's watching right now on YouTube Live as well at Jim Masters TV. And we love this woman, Jim. Absolutely. Absolutely. She's adorable and so funny. What charisma. Absolutely. That's what you folks, you know that. This is the Jim Masters show. This is some schlock. This is the real deal.
My muscles are all lactic acid and tight from all the smiling of all the love on this show. It's great. It's really
yes. Good. It releases the endorphins, doesn't it? Which is those feel-good hormones. It makes you feel terrific. Light, love, and levity on this show. So we're going to share the locked down video. I can't wait to show that. And then we could talk about it when you come back. All right, here we go, folks. Enjoy.
I've forgotten how to wear clothes. Nothing really matches. Everything doesn't fit. I'd like to yell a profanity, but it would only feel good for a little bit. My mind wonders, do others feel the same? You know, it's like all the lessons from the past were just a really messed up game. I'd like to hear your voice. Get your guidance, hear your thoughts. But I guess with all of us in lockdown, you're hiding. Fearing shame if one of us were to frown.
Very moving, very poignant. I can see it in your eyes. That touches you, doesn't it? You're very moved by it. When you see it back, you're like, wow. Not in just the performance, but just in the reality of it and knowing what all of us have experienced around the world and what we've gone through with everything in the last couple of months. What tell us more about what inspired you to create that, Clara, and you did a gorgeous job with it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Truly, yeah, what I was hearing my friends say and then my relationship with love and what that means. We celebrated my grandpa's 90th a couple of days ago too, that photo you showed earlier. And so there was, it's not just romantic love, it's also familial love too. And
right.
What you can and can't say for fear of upsetting people. Yeah, it's complicated. It's a complicated sort of nuance that we're in, I think. And yet, sometimes it's important to shake the tree and ruffle the feathers in order to heal. And then, yeah.
That's exactly what is happening too. And you how long ago did you create that?
That I made whenever I posted it. I think 2 months ago, a month and a half ago.
Wow, 2 months ago. Yeah. So you already had a flavor for how people were feeling and sort of gauging. Are you? I tend to be, and I've asked a lot of people this that I've had an opportunity to interview over the years. I think I've calculated in my professional work as well. One of the hats I wear, pun intended, is interviewing, among other things in my career. I've interviewed about 6,000 people over the years on TV, radio, and elsewhere. And some of the folks I've asked this particular question as far as when you have an opportunity to do work that really touches people's lives and has a statement like that, speaks volumes without it having to be even in your face. It's just there. It's reality. It's real. It's raw. It's touching. You're a real observer of people, an observer of life, right? I definitely am. I can react with humor, and I can summarize things, and I'm very much in tune. I'm always listening, always observing, and reacting in a positive way to what I observe in life and with people. You must always be observing and have everything going, all the senses heightened all the time, right? Like a similar, probably, we're kindred spirits, almost like a higher consciousness.
Yeah, I think so. I think the spirituality element of our job as artists, I think, is important. It doesn't mean we have to be on the same page about it, but that's what I was saying before. I think it's a little naive to assume that we're not, that the entertainment doesn't have an impact at all, right, on what's happening in the current space. But just as you were saying that, I don't know if we have time, but it just reminded me of a play I did at the Malthouse Theatre in Australia called Tunnel Rat, and it was about the tunnel rats, the boys essentially that were sent from America and Australia into the Vietnam War, which I don't think ever should have happened. That's a separate conversation, but like looking at that complexity, and thanks, Albert, and friends. And we had tunnel rats see the show, right? These were kids who would have been put through the war, and they were put through the war because they were short enough to go into the tunnels of the Viet Cong and essentially harm the Vietnamese people. And therefore they were children. So now they're in their, I think, 60s at this point in time. They're pretty young. And we did this show for them, and a lot of tunnel rats came to see us. And a lot of these audience members left the show in tears and shut down. Now, as an actor, that makes you panic, right? Your ego goes, oh my gosh, I ruined their life. Days, weeks,
right,
months later, myself, Dennis Manahan, Diana Nguyen, the three of us that were in the show, with Tatiana Grasso, who was our director, Neil Cole wrote the piece, started getting emails from partners of these tunnel rats saying, they have never opened up to me about their post-traumatic stress trauma. Since watching the show, yeah, they shut down, they had a bad experience at night, but they finally started to open up. And so there's value sometimes in saying, look, this is going to be an uncomfortable conversation, but the other side of it's going to be so good. Like, wow, these people that are married with this post-traumatic stress are like finally like deepening their love. That's awesome. Doesn't mean it's always, a walk in the park to get there. But so that's what it reminded me of when you're saying that in terms of observing and understanding the humanity. I'm not an authority. I'm learning every day. But to see that as an artist and to go, okay, so sometimes you need to reflect back to shake. Sometimes you reflect back to laugh.
Right.
It depends on what your objective is behind it. But yeah, I think artists need to, I know in this pandemic, a lot of my colleague artist friends too are very afraid of what it means for them and what it's going to look like on the other side. And I think what you're doing, what I'm doing there are ways to work around that. But artists are truly very integral in our community, and I think we forget that a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Whether it's music, whether it's comedy, whether it's a play, somebody that is a sculptor, somebody that goes outside. We've talked about gardening on this show and how therapeutic gardening is. And I'm a green thumb myself too. And all these different things that bring beauty and joy and blessing to our lives. Even just going, I'm an ocean person. So you got to, I grew up on the coast. So the ocean calls me all the time. You got to pull me. I've been telling the audience, you got to yank me out of the ocean. I love the ocean so much. But just even enjoying the beauty of going and watching the sun set into the ocean is free. It's there. It's natural. And it's so invigorating and deep. And there's so many things around us that sometimes we sort of take for granted that are right outside our door that we don't have to even build or create because it's right there. And if you soak it all in, it then inspires you, lifts you, and then you can become creative. You can inspire and share it with others, that joy and shine with others, right?
Yeah. And you made me realize something too. The first weeks of COVID, sort of alone in my apartment, as also as an actor, and you're talking about techniques before, opening the window and just feeling the air on my face with my eyes closed.
Exactly.
That sort of, beginning.
Just feeling like a breeze across, just basic things that are absolutely, we were going to the coast and just the scent of the salt air was so incredibly made you feel alive. I do have something else I want to show the audience too, to give them another sense of the scope and the breadth of your extraordinary work, Clara. And we have your reel here. So we want to
yes, let's do
that's it. I tell you, I know. I have to update mine too. I'm so busy all the time. I got to update my my TV reel. But here is some more of our very special guests on the Jim Master Show Live, Clara Francesca, and we will share some of the samples of her work with you. Enjoy, and then she and I will be back in a moment to chat some more. Here we go.
Sure, I think it's weird, but...
Hey, where's my treat?
Oh, right, sorry. Who's a good boy, Gary? What's even weirder is that they feel the need to actually convince me that they're animals. But I get it. Times are tough, healthcare is expensive, and people can actually afford veterinary care. We can't have nuns coughing and sneezing all over the place, now can we? No, saying God bless you all day long, and God knows that we do. Now, let's say for argument's sake you're 18, because my dear, age is the least of your worries. You see, my dear, to become a nun, you must be a woman. And God knows, and I know, you certainly ain't one of those, are you? I'm not arguing to kill you. I'm gonna open you up slowly and put acid all over the wound.
Ooh.
And then I'm gonna smash your face in with your own hand.
Boy, she's really giving me mixed signals.
Dad, I was clear about it. Yes. No, I want a Hummer for the wedding. That's right. Yeah, it is tasteful. Sure, if Anthony were getting married, you'd get him a huge Hummer, but that's different because he has a penis and all.
And I supply the water for all my places, and it's good, but it's very good.
It's water, dude.
Tell that to the people of Flint, Michigan.
Dude!
They would love some good but very good water right now. And Trump's water is the good but very goodest.
I miss you, Mommy.
I miss you too, Angel. But I'm here. I've always been here. You just need to close your eyes and remember, good things come to those who wait.
Ew, gross girl's back.
Oh my God.
Hi,
What do you want?
you dropped this yesterday and left before I could give it back. You're welcome.
It's all the same thing, girls. Chase boys, chase girls.
Bravo, bravo. You know, I saw that piece about Trump's water. I didn't realize that was you. I saw that. I thought it was cool. I just saw it recently, like, I don't know, a week or so ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was you. Wow. That just happened right now, the sort of putting the two things together. All of it. I mean, you could see that that was a lot of fun doing that, huh?
Yeah. Michael was great to work with. It was he was a great colleague to work with. Yeah. That's funny. I mean, we did that 3 years ago now, which is why I say it needs an update, because there's more stuff I need to update.
But amazing how relevant it still is.
Yup.
So when you look at that body of work and you see it compiled like that, how does it make you feel? I mean, not just in seeing the range, but when you realize the different projects that you've had the unique and very special opportunity to be a part of, as well as play off some other wonderful actors and actresses and work with some great crews and teams too on those projects.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I feel very grateful. I love my colleagues beyond belief, even people that we're not necessarily in contact with. It's really important work, and I love my job for that. I think looking at that body of work. You're reminding me though of a quote that I scribbled down before their friend tweeted me that says, "Beware of artists. They mix with all classes of society and are therefore the most dangerous." So in terms of the body of work, I guess that's what I think. There's so much that we get to explore and navigate and reflect back to humans. And if we're doing our job properly, it should affect. So Yeah, that's what I think. I should also mention though, before we were talking a lot about City Company and the sort of luck that gave me, the other thing it reminds me of is the amount of people that are constantly there in my court and I'm in there and theirs. Like it's a team sport and I love that about it. And a team that I just want to say, because we're live if I may, is Phoenix Theater Ensemble. They really helped me with my visa application as an actor artist visa as I integrated into being more of a permanent resident here, and they're phenomenal. And that's actually how I met Albert, one of the comedian who posted before. They're doing such incredible work, and they're based between Nyack and New York City. They do sort of classical theater pieces as well as contemporary work that fits in with their mission. And they, even in the pandemic, they were the first company that emailed me and said, hey, you're a resident, you're an ensemble artist with us as a resident artist. Are you okay? How's the pandemic affecting you? Can we help you? Can we give you a salary? Can we support you? So if anyone has any support and they want to give it to an artist, I recommend them. Phoenix Theater Company, Phoenix Theater Ensemble are incredible for that. But they also take the job seriously. And I think, when you ask me, look at that reel and what does that make you think? The team behind that.
Right.
And even Amelia Fowler, who was on that image before, that the little image between her and I as the two moms sort of fighting it off to different countries. I met her through Elise Stone and Craig Smith at Phoenix Theater Ensemble. And their support of me when I was very green in this industry and it was very scary and it was very intense is very, very real. And then on top of that, if I may just make this little connection, I was teaching for them in the East Village schools. We're doing devised theater for 13-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And it was great. It is great work. And they still do that. It's their in-flight program. But, that was around the time, too, when, some other Black Lives Matter atrocities were happening. Right. And immediately the day that the killing happened, signs went up the schools saying what to do if the police stopped you. And they're children that were like 10, 11, 12. Well, yeah, they're very tall children. But like just my Australian brain was like, wow, I'm not in Kansas City anymore. That's a bad analogy. But yeah, I'm not enough. Yeah. I need to learn and I need to understand. And so Craig and Elise really helped me fast track a lot of knowledge that I think as a foreigner, you don't get. Like, you don't land at immigration office and like, here's a manual of all the cultural differences between you and your country and this one. There are a lot of similarities and those are great things, but that's what I think about when I see that reel, the sort of the support that I've received.
And in terms of the feedback that you get from an audience, from followers, from fans, that must bring you great joy and blessing when somebody tells you that there's a piece of work or something that you've done that totally moved them, maybe even help them understand the world better, or maybe it enhanced a relationship that they have with a loved one or a friend, or they just are so deeply moved by your performance that they needed to express that to you. I get that sometimes through my work, being a public person like you, being on television, being where people will just see me in the supermarket and I'll have a baseball cap on and a 5 o'clock shadow and I'm, buying lumber or something. And it's usually that's the times when people do bump into you, not when you're in the tuxedo and and they'll come up and they'll say some of the most beautiful, touching things. And sometimes you don't realize how many people you are touching, how many lives you're touching through the work that you so much enjoy doing. And that brings you solace and fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness. So when you do hear the feedback from the public at large, how does that make you feel?
Very, 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 very lucky. I was thinking just not the tunnel ride example I gave before, but also the years it takes sometimes. I was doing weird theater in Australia, and then fast forward 6 years, I'm now in New York, and a colleague of mine that was on a debating tournament, also a fellow lawyer who saw some of my work, came up to me 6 years later and was like, that thing you did made me realize I could be a better person to my family. I'm like, I'm sorry, we're 6. Wow. Also, we haven't spoken in 6 years and I haven't seen you. We met at the sort of Australians in New York kind of event, which is lots of fun. We kind of find each other. But yeah, it's really quite moving when that happens.
Do you have any scripts nearby that you're reviewing, that you're working on right now? I say that because I got a lovely text this morning from another gentleman that I interviewed about a week ago, who had a script with him when he was on as my guest, and he was going through the script, and they were considering him for the role, and it's a major national project, and he texted me today and he said, "Hey, Jim, I just want to let you know I so much loved the interview. Everybody's sharing it online. I have, they're going to your YouTube channel, Jim, and everybody's watching it. And I loved it. And, we chatted like you and I are. It's not even an interview. It's a conversation. It's a warm conversation." And he said, "And by the way, the casting people that were deciding who was going to get the role watched our interview. And based on the interview, I got the role." And he texted me today to tell me that. And I said, "Oh my God." So that's what I was saying. Do you have any scripts nearby that you want?
Everything. I'll do everything. I act. I can do a pigeon. I can do a tree. I can do. You let me know. I'm costable and hireable. The main TV series. No, I don't have anything specific like that. But I am working on a bunch of projects with some colleagues. I have a new musical with your dear friend June that we're working on. Silly actress. Watch this space. I have another piece I'm working with a friend of mine called Keith Patchell, which we're working on that. And my friend Elizabeth Aris Smith and I are doing a piece as well, which they're all really exciting projects. I have a few things that I'm waiting to hear back on for callbacks, but NDAs have been signed, so I like
show him the interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
Jim Masters TV. Good luck.
Good idea. Thank you. I'm so happy for that friend of yours though. That's really wonderful.
It's really amazing, really absolutely amazing. I was so excited for him. And because, we had an in-depth conversation like you and I are about, life and our careers and just everything. And it wasn't just, a quick Q&A. It was really more, it had more breadth and depth to the conversation like ours is. And I guess they really responded to it. They saw elements of him. He was getting comments from friends who've known him for years that said, "Wow, I watched that interview and I never even knew that about you." So that's what happens.
Yeah. Jim Masters, the place where people make their careers. I love it.
That's good. With love, light, and levity. Hey, do you ever get a chance to go back to Australia to visit the family and spend some time with everybody there? I know the planes have been a little funky lately, but do you ever get a chance to go back and see the loved ones?
Yeah, so I'm really very lucky individual. And I guess I've been back 3 times in the space of 6.5 years, which I guess isn't that much really if you think about it, but it's really lovely to do that. The other side of me too is that I do have family that live in Italy, and New York to Italy is a little cheaper, a little closer. So I've been lucky to sort of spend time with family there, which has been really, really lovely. My dad and I caught up at the end of last year back in our sort of home space in Italy.
Did they ever come to the States at all to see you? Any family members?
Yeah, both my parents have visited at different times based on their work schedules, which has been lovely. My dad actually saw me in a very weird performance art piece called, oh gosh, what was it called? The Banquet. It was a reenactment of a Cubist feast that Picasso did for Henri Rousseau. And thanks for listening. Thanks for staying on, friends. And my dad's very open-minded, but I didn't know how I was going to perceive. I was dressed up as a cube. I was Cubism reincarnated, and the audience members had to feed me bits of brownie and bits of cake, and he loved it, so that was exciting. That was nice.
Eileen in the Perth area says, "Keep the smiles and have a great evening. A bouquet of flowers to you, Clara. A ripper show, Jim and Clara." I love that, ripper. God bless to all, love and light, from Eileen in Western Australia there. What are some things about the work that you do as an actress? I mean, in addition, we're focusing a lot on the acting, but you're also a singer and a producer as well. Let's talk a little bit about and share with the audience about that as well, because they might not realize those other elements of what you do, singing as well as producing.
So Bart, who's been texting in through the Facebooks, he and I have a singing.
We'll have to have you come back so you can sing.
And I'll be warmed up and I'll make sure I've cleared the copyright laws so that I don't get anyone in trouble. I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
It's either Happy Birthday or Jingle Bells, I think.
I don't sing either of them. Don't make me do that. So as a singer, I started doing operatics and jazz training as a kid at school, which was really a phenomenal education. It was really lovely. I played the flute as well at that time. I did actually some singing for a hip hop band in Australia called Muffin Platonic when I was very, very young, and it's very, very naughty words. And I didn't call myself my real name. I didn't know what I was singing to, which was another problem too, which I probably should have checked up on. But young, you don't quite figure it out. So I'm just listed as Francesca. There's no sort of other identifier about me. But that was fun. And then the producers, generally I've been producing self-produced work. But even with that clip that you saw of the water thing that came up, I was sort of helping out with a colleague of mine, and he sort of took me into the more film and and screen, TV-based, web-based, YouTube-based producing world. So I got a bit of an insight with that. And I've done a little bit of training in terms of understanding how theater gets produced in New York City, but generally I've produced my own stuff, generally has been housework or collaborative-based work, yeah.
And what sorts of work? Tell us a little bit about some of the styles and genres that you've worked on.
Yeah, avant-garde, classical,
Right.
from Chekhovian work to Shakespearean. I love my Shakespearean work very, 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 very much. And naturalism, I can do that, but I do what I love about the sort of more, it's not even avant-garde, but maybe it's avant-garde compared to Broadway, more immersive theater experience stuff, is that you do get to have an intimate connection with the audience in a direct way, and it ruffles the feathers a little bit. The thing that I loved about the feedback I got with Manifesting Mrs. Marks is people were laughing at the beginning and crying at the end when I did my job right. So that was always exciting. As an artist, that is something that we like. But then from a producer's perspective, when people would say, ooh, it was almost, so I'm trained in clown a little bit too, and they would say, you kind of went a little too far, but you never went too far. It was always that point of like, she's not gonna make me participate? But it got their adrenaline going, their limbic system running, the fight, flight, or freeze response, and therefore it got them thinking and feeling and shifting that paradigm. So I never, ever, ever want to hurt an audience member, ever, ever, ever. But I do like what immersive and avant-garde allows for in that, a little bit differently than I think classical theater can, just because of the fourth wall rules, although you can break them. I mean, you do what you want. It's a creative medium, but yeah. And the other thing I should have mentioned this earlier too, when I first moved to America, the gigs I started booking after I left the conservatory were virtual theater meeting with classic theater. So a friend of mine, Gabe Barcia Colombo, he's a teacher at Tisch University and does a lot of virtual design with a lot of his students. He and I and a colleague of ours, Bernita DeWitt, were looking at how do you make 3D, so it was pre-pandemic, right? So 3D space, how do you get virtual work to interface with theater-based stuff, not film, not sort of a computer game situation? How does an element of theater stay in that when you're working with sort of, augmented reality?
That's fantastic. It's great stuff. I mean, the scope and the variety is absolutely amazing. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that is on sort of your dream list of projects and types of roles and genres that you would love to explore and maybe be a part of, Clara?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of genres that I haven't touched. I don't know if I'll ever be a tap dancer on Broadway, so I'm not aspiring to that. I'm okay. My friends do it much better than me, and that's fine by me. That's great. In terms of aspiring, there's a show that was written for me actually in Australia by quite a well-known playwright, Barry Dickens, and it's a piece that he kind of gifted me, and it's about 4 different birds in Australia. And for a long time, I didn't know what to do with it, and now I finally do, and we're sort of in development of that. And I would really love the opportunity to do that. I don't know where that fits in, though, in the time of COVID, because truly what I'm looking at with that is, after the bushfires in Australia, that's how the end of 2019 started anyway. So there's been a lot so far. And what we miss, as you were saying, right, just being able to go outside and get that sun or get that fresh air, when ecology breaks down, what's taken away from us? And also the cross-cultural conversations I've had as a white person in America, speaking to friends, Black Lives Matter movement friends, and just the breadth of that. Some things get lost in translation. Some things have very, very equal parallels of problematic things or affection of things. And so this piece with the birds, I really want to find a way to bring it to America, to give a sense of, I'm sure Eileen can attest to this. There's a different feeling in the air in Australia. We can't replicate that. I don't want to replicate that. But how to bring that into the space and then ask the question of, what do I miss when I don't check in with just sticking my head out the window in the middle of a Manhattan apartment, and really connecting with nature and how that changes our equilibrium, our thought process, the sounds of that, the spirituality of that, the taste of that. I'm working with a friend of mine who shall remain anonymous now, but we're in the discussions of how do we bring taste into augmented reality of theater. But I will say, because we're in the pandemic and the middle of the shift, my big question is that something I can do in the future as we try to navigate as theater artists? What is our responsibility? Because that piece, I think, does require us to be live. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'll figure out a way to do it virtually, but I don't know. That's something I'd love to do. Yeah.
So you describe the air and that feeling of Australia. for somebody who hasn't been there that might be watching, how do you describe or define in any way what that is? Is it the being so in touch with nature, and is it a certain respect? Is it a certain way of being, a kindness, or a,
yeah, I don't want to make this a full deep political rant, but I think it's important to acknowledge that Australia has its own problems with racism. That's for sure. But I say that because in describing the answer to your question, it's important to acknowledge that I think, not for everyone, obviously, these huge generalizations, there's an unconscionable conduct perspective that just is understood. There are certain things you just don't do. I don't know if that's imposing because of the Queen's Commonwealth or other colonial problems, but then there's also respect for the land too. Like the fact that I grew up with Welcome to Country, or what is otherwise known as land acknowledgement, at the start of every theater piece, well, not every, but most of them, embeds in the brain and the psyche, as you said, a respect for land, a respect for self. The fact that we're not allowed to just carry weapons of destruction just for fun, I think, again, builds into the psyche a sense of respect. That said, there is plenty of atrocities that go on in Australia, but that, I think, connects to the land. So like the smell of a eucalyptus leaf, for example, is really powerful to me, that there's something in that breeze that is present there.
Just some of those natural basic things that sometimes we don't, like we've been talking about during this conversation, that we forget about, and these things that are right around us that we can truly appreciate. When you look at your body of work thus far, what are some of the things that bring you the greatest joys and blessing from this work, from choosing this path, and a path that, again, impacts so many people in such extraordinary and profound ways, Clara?
Yeah, I think it is what you were mentioning before, the sort of direct feedback from people either after a show or even, as I mentioned, 6 years later, and you're like, I don't even remember doing that piece. Oh, yeah. That not that me individually, I'm in their brainwave, more importantly, the essence of what we were wanting to navigate and investigate was. And for me, the real joy is sort of somewhere between a scientist and a social activist. Maybe that's my legal brain and my science brain, that you're tinkering and navigating through emotion, and also trusting that emotion is safe. Right? You don't always have to be crying or yelling at someone to have emotion, but trusting that emotion is a like the sails on a boat. They'll help guide you where you need to go. That, to me, that's three things. I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question.
No, that's fine. Yeah, as far as bringing the greatest joy and blessing out of the work that you do, and you get very excited about it, and it really is a reflection of the person that you are. You really want to touch lives and bring joy to people's lives through your art, right?
Yeah, that's the hope, and they give it back too. I mean, one thing I have to be honest with you, Jim. I don't know if you missed this, but just I'm sure you might on some level. Just being in a room with the audience, breathing with them. Like, yeah. The actor's ego picks up on that energy. We kind of feed off of it, and then we give it back. So it's like a constant nourishment, but also just the humanity of that. I'm like, where are my breathing friends? Where are you?
Exactly. I was emceeing a concert at Carnegie Hall, which I do periodically for some dear friends, Tim Janis and others, through the beautiful holiday concerts and more. And I was the MC, and we were about 50% in through the concert, and it was beautiful. Full orchestra, choir. It was New York, Carnegie Hall, and a wonderful holiday spirit. Everybody was in a nice holiday mood because it was very inspirational, very uplifting in terms of the performances and the songs selected and so much more. So I'm in the tuxedo. I'm the master of ceremonies. And of course, as you know, when you perform at Carnegie Hall, if there's a master of ceremonies, they open the big white doors. Everybody pauses. The violinists are frozen. Everybody waits. The doors open. The master of ceremonies comes out, steps almost to the ledge of the stage with everybody behind, to the podium or the microphone, and says their piece, and then interacts with the audience, and then introduces whoever the next performer is going to be. Yeah. So we were about 50% into the holiday concert, and I was constantly rehearsing something I wanted to say when I went out on stage as the master of ceremonies. And I said to myself, gee, should I say this? this is Carnegie Hall, but then again, it is New York, and it's a New York audience, and New Yorkers, they respond to a lot of different things, and they cheer, and they get the comedy maybe a little bit. So I said, what the heck? I'll do it. And I didn't tell anybody. So the big white doors open, and I'm to come out as the master of ceremonies and introduce the next act, talk a little bit about the performance. So I come out in the tuxedo, all done up, debonair, ready to go. The audience is sitting there in Carnegie Hall, all looking up, waiting to see what the MC is going to say next, who's going to be the next act. And again, it's Carnegie Hall of all places. It's holiday time. And I just pause, I wait, and I look, and I'm smiling in the tuxedo at everybody. And of course, looking up at the balcony, because we always forget to acknowledge the folks in the balcony. And I smile. And knowing they're all decked out, and it's a holiday concert, and it's Carnegie Hall in New York City, I said to them, and knowing it was good cheer, I said, aren't you glad you decided not to go bowling tonight? And they erupted. They went from to, and it totally lightened it was light to begin with, but it became even lighter, and they were much more responsive, and it was fantastic. And believe me, I rehearsed in my head 100 times. Should I say that at Carnegie Hall? Will this fly? Will this work? Or will they go, or will they get it that, aren't you glad you decided not to go bowling as opposed to here at Carnegie Hall? So, I understand that sometimes you react to the audience, you play with the audience, and you make the audience feel comfortable and welcome. And here's this guy in the tuxedo. We don't expect him to come out with a line like that. Right. And it was perfect.
Yeah, the breaking expectation. One of my favorite mentors, Jason Lehane from Monash Student Theater, actually, again, he was always like, just flip it. Not to be mean to them, but just to get them working a little bit. Not too much, right? It's not an essay. It's not an SATT. Like
it's a little, right.
And that presence, right? You come out with this tuxedo, but then you were there with them. You let them breathe with you, and then you shared the broken expectation. I mean, that's so juicy.
I love that. I love that opportunity. Yeah, I always like to see when I see an opening. I always like to get in there and do it in a way that just brings joy to everybody. So you're working on some things now. You've got some good things going. You've been working through this pandemic, and and that's the great thing. I mean, we've all had to pivot. This is extraordinary. 2020 is going to go down in the history books in perpetuity. I mean, it's really everything you can think of so far, knock on wood, has happened. And, and there's also a lot of creativity, a lot of leadership, a lot of innovation and entrepreneurial spirit that comes from this. I've been saying often on this show, on television and radio professionally, just in conversations with family and friends and colleagues, I actually don't hope we return to normal, because I don't know how good normal was. We were already social distancing. We had our heads in our cell phones. Everybody was stuck watching what everybody was doing on social media. I really hope that we return, or we go to a deeper place of empathy and caring, kindness, listening, a place that's better than where we were. Because I think there was some sort of a intervention of Mother Nature, the earth, and maybe a divine coming together and saying, look, we gifted you guys this beautiful earth and all this opportunity, and you're starting to blow it, and we're getting a little ticked off. So we're going to throw a few things at you, and let's see, are you going to be more divided, or is this going to bring you together? You're going to roll up the sleeves and try to work this out together and come out, rise from the ashes better for it. And that's what I hope happens through art, through creativity, through what you're doing, I'm doing, and what the nurses and doctors and everybody else are doing. I'm hoping that it's a better situation. I'm sure you agree with that, right, Clara?
Fully, 1,000%. 1,000%. I think what's interesting too is going back to the speech work that I do with clients. Pre-pandemic, it's great. My clients are great, and we have lovely success rate, and things are really improved. But then post-pandemic, what was very clear, at least in my bubble that I'd been given by the universe, was people who were not comfortable being with themselves. It really flared up a lot of stuff, and huge amounts of anxiety were coming out. And I think, again, anxiety is a thing that can help guide us, but when it's that much, my question is, what have we been ignoring, like you're saying, to not know that that's going on inside of you? And so with a lot of my clients, they come to me for speech public speaking assistants from corporate meetings to keynote speeches. And we do that. And I talk to them about the vocal folds and all the anatomy behind it. My science comes out and my legal mediator comes out. But truly, when the pandemic hit, we kind of went back to square one. I have some mild therapy training from some psychologists that were training me in modalities. And I did that a lot in Australia too. And so going back to these grassroots concepts to clean out that stuff in them so that they can then apply the useful speech, the interesting content, to structure what they want to say. So I think exactly what you said. And then to add to that, the amount of internal massaging, awareness, self-reflection that had to be done. I'm not sure everyone's done it. And that makes me sad as a fellow human, because I think the people who have done it, everyone sort of come out on the other side and there's some really great stuff. Doesn't mean we're not scared. Doesn't mean we don't know what's going to happen. But a lot of people have taken the time to just sort of breathe with it. I see it with my friends, with my colleagues. There's a really nice side of us all coming out. And it's quite beautiful. Like, it's really quite beautiful. So.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. I agree. And hopefully that continues, in that vein. You mentioned again, just briefly, that beautiful comment I made in the beginning about the native land and indigenous people and all. I don't think a lot of people outside, maybe some do outside of Australia, realize that really is a custom in Australia with theaters and courtrooms and everywhere. That's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. I wish, to be honest, again, I'm not going to claim that Australia is perfect. I'd like to, but it's not. I'd like more people to do it. But even us, okay, I'm going to pull on my full-on Australian. So we've got a sport called the Australian Footy League, the AFL. It's football. It's not soccer. Don't tell me it's soccer. I'll cry at you. Don't. No, it's not American football. It's its own thing. It's a wonderful sport. And in honor of Mr. George Floyd's death, they're kneeling in the middle of the games because there is racism in our country, and to acknowledge that it's there so people don't sort of gloss over that. Again, that's not going to fix the actual problem, but that awareness, that conscientiousness, I think, is really important. And yeah, my friends and I were watching a football match the other day, and they're taking it very seriously, and they're taking their responsibility very seriously, and that goes into land acknowledgement, because I really do think that, this is me spouting out, conscionable conduct is so important. Why are you doing that thing? And is it conscientious to be doing it? Is it unconscionable to be doing it? If it's unconscionable, then why are you doing it? And that, as a human lesson, I think is important to be ingrained. And then you make your own decisions. But that, I think, goes into the land acknowledgement. That, again, not every human being is doing land acknowledgement, but it was often done in theaters when I was a child. And I do know a lot of legal spaces are doing it now to honor that. And I think it helps the psyche just acknowledge how we got here, and privilege, and then navigate, if you can, it doesn't mean you have a conversation about it, you just acknowledge it, but it makes, I think it wakes people up slowly to think about the self in that context. And so, yeah, I was lucky. I saw it a lot in theater shows that I went to see, ballets, operas, again, not every single one, but I think it's special. There's lots of good things in Australia too. You should all watch AFL football.
Absolutely. Sponsored by. What are some things, just briefly, about the United States, about America, when you came over? Again, 2013, and here it is, 2020, at the time of this conversation here on our show. What are some things that, in either direction, that really surprised you about America? Sometimes I ask a lot of folks, not just on the show, but elsewhere, just in conversation, when they come from other countries and they come to America, did they think that, through the images, through the movies, through television, through music, in some respects, and maybe this is something that would be more reflective of years ago, maybe in terms of how things are presented and depicted, was there this vision of everything maybe glitzy and the streets paved in gold and very Hollywood and easy? It's America. Everybody's free and happy. And, we're all bouncing in the back of Volkswagen Beetles. It's all happy-go-lucky. And again, the streets are paved in gold. Sort of the Hollywood image of yesteryear. Did you have any of that vision in you, a thought that that's the way America was, sort of?
This is a great question. I have 5 things I want to say. I didn't come to this country with any expectations really, other than working with City, because I'd come to Melbourne when I was 17 and I won this acting award, and it sort of all sort of intertwined. And so I had done this training and I loved it, and that was my focus. I'm an actor, I'll go wherever you pay me, and if the work's good. But I'd never thought to myself, I need to get to America to act. In fact, that story is I got shortlisted and then a callback for a main stage theater production and also a soap TV show in Melbourne the week that I was leaving to come to America. So I didn't have any expectations. That said, as I've stayed in the country, I've learned my I guess pre-programmed expectation or bias, and some good things and some less good things. Like, so for context, I grew up between Australia and Italy, and the movies I watched that were American were all dubbed in Italian. So the concept of sort of America as a thing or a sound, or like it didn't really, it just was the stories. I didn't really have that sense of it. I am really saddened on a serious level to learn, that like certain hate groups are still active, whereas the Black Panthers are inactive. Like learning that to me is sort of a mind boggle when you've got these sort of freedom of speech mission statements. That it really hurts me as a human to see that and learn into more of that as we move forward. From a more sweet, kind note, what I was really amazed by was I found my artistic family here in many ways. I have many, many artistic family members back home, and they aren't my family. But the hub, like Phoenix Theater Ensemble that I mentioned before, and the work that I was doing with City and the stuff with the virtual theater, like I feel at home as a professional, which is phenomenal. I don't need golden streets in New York to make that be the case, although that might be nice too. But yeah, so that was a really beautiful thing. And then two other broken expectations. So here's one expectation I had. When I came to New York, and the New York Italian, and I don't mean to upset or offend anyone, but I grew up speaking fluent Italian. I grew up in an Italian household, which is quite different to what a New York Italian is. And I didn't really understand that. So I started meeting all these people in the first 2 months and blurting out in Italian, and they couldn't understand what I was saying. And then they were offering me hero sub sandwiches. I'm like, this is not what? What is this thing? What is a hero? I'm like, it's not a thing. So that broke my expectation a bit too, which was more of a funny thing. But from an artist perspective, and this might be why eventually Pagoni, I started using Clara Francesca, so many people wanted to mispronounce Pagoni after I would slate. Now, you can call me Fred if you have never met me. Like, I truly don't mind. Like, I understand that, like, we're learning, we mispronounce. That's not a stress for me. But when I slate, right? For the viewers watching, slating is where an actor comes in, they say their name, and then they do the scene, and sometimes they end the scenes intense at the end. Like, if I say blah, 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 then you say your name is blah, blah, blah. And so many of the people I met at the beginning, because of their Italian heritage, wanted to tell me how to say my name. They would say, no. Pagoni is sound. You say Pagoni, right? The G is a J sound like that. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to fight with you. I want you to hire me. You can call me Fred. I really don't get it. And that sort of weird balance because of the power dynamic in our industry too. Bear in mind, this is before the Me Too movement, and Black Lives Matter was really in the lexicon. So talking about discrimination wasn't as easy. And, costume directors have power, and they should. I love them. There's great costume people out there. But the fear of being able to say, well, if I correct them, they might get offended. But if I say silent, then I'm being silent on my name. But then, like, I don't want to correct them. I want to just make the conversation with them. And maybe they generally just think it's the name. But now I'm going to be upsetting, like, lineage of their family history of how they pronounce G's. So we went with Clara Francesca, which if it is mispronounced, is less upsetting to me than Pagoni. But the slating thing is what really kind of got me. So that broke my expectation a lot. I was like, wow, you're not listening. Like, going back to your thing about joy and listening. Yeah.
And here I thought all the time it was Pagone.
You get a green card, Jim. That's fine. Pagone is how a lot of people. I didn't even slate. You can call me whatever you want.
Where do we sign, right? Where do we sign? What's the rate? That's funny. No,
That's about expectations. No, but truly, I was amazed. On the beautiful side,
yeah.
I realized how much of my artistic soul, psychic, family, whatever you want to call it, I would find here. I really have found.
Do you find them open and friendly and welcoming?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, the troops, the companies that I work with, the ensembles I work with, the people I work with regularly, 1,000%. And there's many, many, many more people from that I meet, like James Simon, who produced the show we did yesterday. He helped me get Manifesting Mrs. Marks out to Edinburgh, which is where I met Guy. And again, like Guy's an Englishman, but the family network that I have found here is for me very, very, very special. Yeah.
Really cool. Got some comments, I think, coming in here. Clara, thank you for sharing your multifaceted experiences, background, and being vulnerable too. You are a breath of fresh air, thoroughly enjoyable. Absolutely. Clara is very energetic and interesting young lady. She knows what she wants out of life and makes it happen. Austin Fields says, another great interview. We thank you for that as well. And oh my gosh, I just love Clara's personality. That is terrific. So you're getting a chance to really see, through the course of our conversation here. Well, at least she froze with a smile and not eating ice cream like I did. Oh, yeah.
Eating ice cream on the show?
Yeah. I was having some ice cream, and the guest I had was frozen. But you were frozen at some good points. You were like,
it's like, before we started though, where Jim saw me freeze like this.
So you're loving life, you're having a good time, and you're creating, and you're having an opportunity to enjoy the blessings of life, and that's truly what it's all about, right, Clara?
Yeah, I fully agree with that, and I think we need to remind ourselves of that when we forget.
So what is a typical, before we wrap up, what's a typical Clara Francesca day like? Or is there no typical day for Clara Francesca?
An Aquarian.
Libra, Aquarius. That's why we clicked right away.
Right. Also, on the concept of bays, so Melbourne is on the bay, and I grew up by the water. I love St. Kilda. It's a wonderful place. And my dad's ancestors are from Catania, and my brother and I actually went there as children when we were very little, which is with Mount Etna, and it's right on the ocean. So I feel a synergy between our seaman legs, or whatever.
Yes. Not landlubbers.
Yes.
Ocean lovers.
I really like my water. Day does not exist. I have it, and I have clients, right? And so I commit, and I'm there for them, and I can get to a schedule on time. I'm always at rehearsals earlier on time, with a couple of exceptions. But yeah, a daily thing for me doesn't really exist. I guess one thing I like to do when I wake up is have a mantra in terms of a positive affirmation, but it changes, to be honest. I change the affirmation depending on the feeling. And yeah.
That's ironic that you said that, because for years, especially on my Facebook pages, on a daily basis, I post #Masters Mantras. Ooh. And they're all positive and they're all inspirational. And a lot of people have been following them, and they tell me, Jim, you should write a book filled with them. They're inspiring me. People will write and say, gee, I look forward to these every day. And I've done some video posts of them on the YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Again, I think it's another way that you and I are kindred spirits in that way, is that we're always looking for ways to lift others up, and having those positive mantras and living that way, I think, Clara, really allows for that to happen, right? When you have mantras that are for you, but then other people find them to be inspiring as well.
Yeah, massively. And it helps ground, I think, too. I also think, and this, I don't know how you feel about this, but I do believe that as artists, it's our job to not be afraid of things that are not positive necessarily. But then once we've got that information, like I said before, to be able to reflect it back and to go through it so that it can come out with a positive outcome. So that's where I find the mantras for me very useful too, that if I'm in the middle of something really complicated or navigating something intense with my family or with myself or with extended, to look at the self and go, okay, well, how do we shift through that? It reminds me of the song, the children's nursery rhyme. I don't know if you have it in America. I'm sure you do. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You've got to go through it. That's not my singing sample. But
there you go, Bart. She just sang for you. What do you think?
But I think that's useful, and that's where my mantras tend to take me. They can be nothing to do with that, but they remind me that if you're experiencing that, growth pain, as long as it's not violent or degrading, the growth pain might not necessarily be evil. It might just be a shift into something else. And I think when you are dealing with evil things and things that are horrible, to help ground so that you can make the best choices as we navigate how to be, more effective and kinder to each other.
which is what it's all about. It's a beautiful thing, Clara Francesca, and you are inside and out, and such a blessing. Let's toast again to you and your illustrious career. New friendship made, and I am so happy to have you here. Thanks for all of the time sharing the wonderful nuances and essence of who you are from the career perspective to the individual. It was a real joy, blessing, and honor to have you here, and I toast you as my guest on the Jim Masters Show Live.
Thank you, Jim. An honor to meet you. Really.
You as well, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation, being my guest as much as I thoroughly enjoyed having you as my guest.
Massively, massively. To more love and joy to come.
We had a ripper of a time. As per Eileen in Perth. A ripper of a time. I love that.
Ripper's good. Ripper's a good one. Yeah.
Really ripping good. All right. You're the best. And you're welcome here on the show anytime. And I hope we get a chance to get together in person at some point. And with June and all our dear collective friend, we'll go for dinner or something in the city. We'll see you in some of the performances as well. You have a great night, Clara Francesca. Thank you very much for being with us, and a blessing having you on the show.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Take care.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye now. Our wonderful guest, Clara Francesca. Isn't she amazing? Actress, singer, producer extraordinaire. And more than that, just a wonderful spirit, a loving person inside and out, and has a unique perspective on the world and on people and the human condition. And as you know, I love that, and I embrace that in all of my work professionally and as well here on the Jim Masters Show Live. And again, this is week number 7 of the show. And thanks so much, everybody, for the incredible support. If you'd like to check out Clara, of course, you can go to her website as well and find her there. And this is a great shot of her when she was doing a television commercial. So I dug that up. You know, we always change the set based on the guest and or the theme of the Jim Masters Show Live. So it was really an honor to have her here. And we hope you enjoyed the time we spent with Clara. And she really shared a good deal of herself with us, and we really appreciate that. And we appreciate you as well. 7 weeks we've been on the air here with the show, and every show is something different and unique, whether we have guests or if we just have some great viewer interaction and great time together. Just a moment, I'm going to tell you about some of the other extraordinary guests we have coming up this week. It's a big week here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Ernestine says, yes, she is amazing. I told you that. And Joy says, thank you for a great night. My pleasure. And good night to your grandson, Connor, as well. And Martha says, that was wonderful and energetic. Just kept a smile on my face all night. Perfect. We aim to do that for you and all of our viewers. She's very, very appreciative of that, as am I, KN. And good night as well from Ernestine and from Martha and Salute and all these wonderful comments coming in. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having her here and having all of these great comments on the show. So, gang, let me show you some of the extraordinary people we have coming up during the course of this week, our 7th anniversary. We've got amazing guests coming up. Tomorrow night, a wonderful guest, dear friend of mine, Tiffany Moore. She is an extraordinary Irish fiddle violinist, orchestra member, music instructor, and so much more. She's all excited to be here on the show. She's been posting and tagging on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I really appreciate that, and YouTube as well. I've known her for a good long time. We have a lot of friends. Matter of fact, I see her at the Carnegie Hall concerts as well, but Renee Nesbitt from Celtic Woman and Rocktopia is a dear friend of ours, and so many other performers. She is wonderful, and she's a breath of fresh air. She's a dear friend, and she's joining us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live right here on the Jim Masters Show. Then on Wednesday night, another dear friend, wonderful guest, John LaBarbera. He's an extraordinary musician, guitarist, arranger, composer. He plays every kind of guitar you can possibly think of, including the bouzouki from Greece. He is extraordinary. He's had an incredible career. He's arranged music for movies, for plays. He's a brilliant performer. And you know what? He's a really nice guy. And he's also a hat guy like me. He's got a huge hat collection. And whenever we've hung out, we've always compared our different hats that we get all around the world when we're on location or wherever, our careers take us. Then on Thursday night, wonderful Elise Lobianco. She is a very inspirational and empowering person, and she does a lot of meditative study and so much more. She's going to be very uplifting. Her husband, as you know, is the veteran legendary television and movie actor Tony Lobianco, dear friend of mine as well. And we had Tony on for that wonderful Memorial Day special we did here on the Jim Masters Show Live. And we had such an incredible conversation. You remember Tony Lobianco from the French Connection movie and Police Story and so much more. So lovely Elise is going to be with us here for a very inspiring evening, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Then on Friday, veteran television actress Kathy Garver. Now, Kathy Garver, you may know as Sissy on the 1960s and 70s legendary TV series Family Affair, starring Brian Keith, Sebastian Cabot, Anissa Jones, Johnny Whitaker, and of course, Kathy Garver as the older sister, Sissy. In addition to, of course, being Sissy on Family Affair, she was a brilliant actress thereafter, as well as a producer, a speaker, an author. You see her on the right when she played Sissy on Family Affair, and then you see her now today on, you see her on the left is Sissy and on the right today. And she's with us, our special guest for the full evening on Friday. Other guests we have coming up that we're excited about sharing with you as well. The legendary and extraordinary Lane Bradbury, actress, stage, Broadway, movies, television extraordinaire. She's coming on the show in just a couple of weeks. We're excited about that. Award-winning and veteran television news anchor, host, radio show host, and more. Rita Cosby is going to be a guest here live on the show in just a couple of weeks. We have guests throughout the entire month of June. We are just about booked the entire month of July. We've had comedians, we've had television people, movies, film, music folk, inspirational people, scientists. We've had doctors, sports people coming on, chefs, lots of food and fun, and so much more. Rita is going to be joining us as well. So, like I say, we have so much fun and light and levity on this show and really appreciate it. And of course, lots of viewer action and interaction here. Thanks for another awesome interview. And thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show and hope you can join us. Tell all your friends, share the links. You can find all the past episodes. We have 7 weeks of shows and we do the show nightly. Did I actually sign up for every night? Yeah, nightly, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube at Jim Masters TV and on Facebook at Jim Masters TV, streaming worldwide with a global audience, as we've seen this evening. So thank you very much, Anne. Pleasure to have you here. An honor to have you here. Hearts and smiles from Jory. Thank you very much. Good night. Everybody says good night to one another. Albert, hope to have you on the show. You are welcome to join us as well here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Heard good things from Clara about you, so it'll be a pleasure. And yes, Clara was a phenomenal guest. And Jory says, Connor says goodnight. Your grand says goodnight. Well, we say goodnight to Connor as well, and thank you very much. So we're going to wrap the show, everybody. And Anne says goodnight all. Thank you very much. And join us. We're here nightly, including on weekends, 7 p.m. Eastern, live on the Jim Masters Show Live. Wonderful guests. If you want to see the past episodes, just go to YouTube, my YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Feel free. I don't know why they use the word subscribe because it costs nothing. You just click subscribe. All it does is alerts you to the videos, and you see all the videos that are there for the Jim Masters Show. You can see some of my professional work as well, and a lot of those Masters mantras. Here on the show, too, we also take you on location. We've taken you to the Netherlands. We took you to the Brady Bunch house in California. That was really cool. And also the house where they shot the TV series, the legendary 70s TV series Family, with Chrissy McNichol and Sada Thompson and James Broderick and Meredith Baxter Burney and Gary Frank and Quinn Cummings. That house was also used in a lot of movies. That's in Pasadena, California. We took you there. We took you to Malibu and Los Angeles. We also took you to Red Rocks in Colorado and to Denver. We took you through a hailstorm. Wasn't that cool? So we take you on location as well. Everybody says good night. Everybody says have a super night. As you know, how we wrap up the show here, first of all, a couple of things, some tradition. We toast you and you and you and you, and we thank you very much for joining us here on the show. All of your characters say goodnight as well. There's Jimmy. He says goodnight. And the dog, you can't go without that canine from Switzerland. Silver says goodnight. He will see you tomorrow. Jeannie is in her bottle. She says goodnight. Again, the show is all about light, levity, and love. You got to put a smile on your face, right? So Jeannie's in there. She's sleeping. She needs her beauty sleep. And of course, legendary comedian George Burns is here. He's been watching. He's had a, what'd you think? You like it? Yeah, I loved it. He loved it too, the interview and the show tonight. So that's great. One more thing, as you always know, I may be the star of the show and the host of the show, but I think every single one of you, you are the true stars all around the world. You're there. You join us. You're a blessing. You are the stars. And we always say, we offer you this message before we wrap up: to breathe and to relax, to love one another, inspire one another, do what you can to celebrate life and everything that it consists of, the beauties. And we were talking about with Clara tonight, some of the beauty and essence of life that truly is outside our door, and it's right there. Celebrate kindness and empathy. Roll up the sleeves and help one another. Participate in life. I know life doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bowl of cherries every single day. It would be wonderful if it was a perfectly scripted 1960s or 50s half-hour TV show, but it really isn't. Although it's nice to daydream and fantasize and create, of course, you need to have daydreaming and brainstorming and creating and celebrating the beauty of life. But also, when you're dealing with the realities of life, those realities come at you fast. Relax, breathe from the diaphragm. Something magical happens. Singers know it too. When you breathe, voice over people, we all know that. When you breathe from the diaphragm, it just alerts all the sentences, and the sentences that you are alive, that you're here now. So relax, breathe, love one another, smile as often as you can, even though sometimes it can be hard when we deal with some of the things we've been dealing with over the last few months. Just take care of one another. I'll be here for you every night with some light, love, and levity, as long as you guys are here. Again, congratulations to you all. This is our 7th week here on the Jim Masters Show. Again, you know, I do this work professionally, but so many of you wanted me to create this, and I'm so happy. And Eileen, what a fantastic way to rip. Well, not to rip. Now you've got me saying ripper. I'm going to say that. Bye. Fantastic, fabulous show. Ripper. I love it. We had a bloody good time. Now, the English is of my English, Irish, Swedish, and French that I am. English and Irish on dad's side, and English, Swedish, and French on mom's side, as we talked about last night. Good night to you, Christine. I found an 11-year-old video I've posted on Facebook. Ooh, 11-year-old video of who and what? Me, Clara, or you? We'll have to find out. Some squares there. Night all again. Renee, thank you very much. In beautiful Iowa. We're going to wrap up, folks. Wow. You know, when I first started this show, I said I was only going to do the show for an hour 7 weeks ago, but we have such a good time together, and it goes by in a New York minute. We wish you all the very best for the rest of the night. I thank you very much for being a part of our show. You truly are a joy and a blessing. And again, I'm so happy that you're here every night. So many of you from around the world. Continue to spread the light. Tell everybody about the show. We've got amazing guests. Lots of love and light and fun coming your way. All right. You guys have a blessed night. Take care. Thanks for joining us on the Jim Masters Show Live. It's always great to see you here. Thanks for all the wonderful comments. We appreciate the gracious guest we had, Clara Francesca. She appreciates all of your kind words as well. It means a great deal, everybody. You take care. This is Jim Masters thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. You guys have a good night. Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye.